All right, everybody, good afternoon. Time for one final deep dive into an undrafted rookie free agent. And now we are turning our focus to the third side of the ball, which is, of course, special teams. And realistically, for a UDFA to make a team, he probably is going to have to do something on special teams to earn it. However, this particular player, and the thing that I'm really highlighting here, is a player who is making the team in theory, because of special teams. Guys who are going to primarily, in all likelihood anyway, see use in the NFL as special teamers. And that is exactly what Jonathan Sutherland is. Jonathan Sutherland does bring some things to the table on defense. Of course, you're going to have to be able to at least be somewhat capable of playing an offensive or defensive position. But this is a guy who offers more positive on special teams than he does anywhere else. Now, before I dive in here, I do want to make one thing clear. There are other UDFAs the Seahawks got that are potentially interesting and maybe have a chance of being something in this league, but I don't want to go into every single one. There are a few who I think have a non-zero chance of making like the practice squad. And some of the ones who I think don't really have a chance, some of them are still interesting. So there's nothing wrong with learning about those guys. I'm just choosing to highlight a few guys who I think have a real chance of making an impact on the team in 2023. But there are a handful of other guys like C.J. Johnson and Tyjon Lindsley from Oregon State, who the Noah Griffon, the tight end, Herbert, or Bear, I believe is actually how you pronounce it for him, the theoretical tight end slash fullback, like halfback guy that some people are kind of interested in because he's kind of a unique skill set for a fullback. And there's guys like Archon Bush. There are some other safeties that we got. There are the linebackers that we got. There's a little bit. There are some signs of life there. But overall, I just wanted to highlight these four guys in particular because I think they have the best chance. So, by all means, don't completely sleep on the other UDFAs just because I'm highlighting these guys. And also, before I dive into Sutherland, one other thing, there is actually one other UDFA who I think is going to have a real chance to make an impact on Seahawks special teams this year. I just can't really say anything about him, so quick shout out to Chris Stoll, who was the best long snapper in college football last year, supposedly, and I think has a real chance of making this team, making the roster, and actually playing for us. But that's really all I can say about him. So let's talk about Jonathan Sutherland, the Penn State defensive back slash linebacker slash special teams ace. I believe he was actually a special teams captain for them for 4 years in a row. Going to be 24 years old when the season starts, 5'11", 202 pounds. His pro day was actually pretty good, and it put him on the map as far as a draftable asset goes. He did not get drafted, but the pro day actually got a little bit of positive attention. 4'5", 40, 37.5-inch vert, 10-foot 3-inch broad, 25 bench press reps. That's pretty legit. Now, it is a pro day, but it's all we have to go on. This is another guy who didn't really do much of anything at the combine. I actually don't even think he went. But let's break down Jonathan Sutherland. I am going to talk about what he does on the defensive side of the ball, but understand this is definitely a guy who you're looking at as a special teamer, in my view. So, 13 games. Sorry about my throat, by the way. Luckily, we're almost at the end of this little series. 609 snaps. About 400 of those snaps were on defense, and 200 were on special teams. So he had a much bigger presence on special teams than pretty much any other player we looked at during this series. Made 38 tackles, 1.5 for loss, 1 sack, 1 pass defense, 1 fumble recovery. The thing that stands out about his defensive stats are actually his pressures. On only a relatively small collection of pass rush snaps, he had 11 QB pressures. So he showed an affinity and an ability to blitz as a defensive back slash linebacker and get pressure. So if you're looking for something to hang your hat on in terms of defensive ability, it would probably be that. He missed 4 tackles on the season as well, not too bad. But the coverage metrics are not great. Got targeted 33 times, 21 catches, 172 yards, and 2 touchdowns for a 97 QB rating. You look at the way he was utilized on that Penn State defense. They played him on the defensive line a lot, so he was blitzing quite a bit. He also played as a kind of a box safety slash linebacker 160 times, and he was a slot about 172 times. That was his primary utilization at Penn State, especially this most recent year. They almost used him as a tiny linebacker. Now, that's not going to really fly in the NFL because he's only 200 pounds, but it does kind of indicate what his strengths are as a player, potentially. 61 pass rush snaps, 181 coverage snaps, and 165 run defense snaps. But the really interesting stuff comes with his special teams prowess. He had 52 kick coverage, 56 punt coverage, 64 punt return snaps, 7 kick return snaps. So, a lot of reps there. And I have to believe that is why we brought him in. And that is where he has an opportunity to make this team, maybe even over somebody like a Joey Blunt or even a Jarek Reed because of his special teams abilities. He was graded out pretty well last year in all areas. Defense overall, run defense, tackling, pass rush, coverage. Special teams, however, he was better in than anywhere else, 75.2 grade on special teams. So it seems to be his strong area as a player. So some of the pros about Sutherland, and again, we're going to be mainly focusing on what he does on special teams with a few exceptions. He tested well at his pro day, which was something that I don't think was fully expected. So it seems like he can hang with NFL athletes, which at least gives him a chance. Core member of the PSU special teams unit, over 200 snaps last year alone. Skilled at knifing through blockers and getting through traffic to get to the ball. And that's something he does on defense and special teams. Really good at finding a way through the muck and getting to the ball carrier. And he showcased a real talent for blitzing the quarterback in 2022. Like I said, 11 pressures, pretty solid. There might be some upside to him as a passing down linebacker, although that's tough. Like, this guy is small, 5'11", 202 pounds. That's a lot to ask. But if he is going to play a role on defense, I think his best bet is to be either a small, strong safety or a small linebacker. I feel like his abilities in run defense are his defensive strength, along with maybe rushing the passer. So if you could find a way to keep him out of coverage, that might suit him well, but it's going to be hard because he's small, like I said. He's strong in run support when put in a defensive role at safety or linebacker. So when you think about it, that kind of makes sense, right? Your skills being a special teamer are going to translate kind of well to run defense on defense. So that kind of makes sense. Now, of course, as I already noted a couple times, he's small, and it's hard to figure out where he fits at the NFL level on defense due to his small size. And I don't think he's very good in coverage, so you can't just say, oh, he's going to be like Quandre Diggs. I don't think this is a Quandre Diggs type of defensive back right now. He struggles to shed blockers once they actually manage to get on him. Like, he's really good at knifing through blockers, really good at finding a way to, like, angle through blockers, but if they actually square up on him, it's tough. And he didn't look that fast or that athletic on the field. His pro day was better than expected, which is kind of a double-edged sword. He's going to have to show he has those skills on the actual football field. But Jonathan Sutherland is the best special teamer on his team from 2022. He was a 4-time special teams captain and one of the better special teamers in the country. So he's got a chance of making this roster just based off that. Chris Stoll will probably make the roster at this point. If I had to guess, I'd say that's probably going to happen. But this is the interesting guy. This is kind of the wild card here. All right. That's it for your UDFA rundown. Let me know what you think of Sutherland. And see you guys tomorrow. Maybe see you on Twitch tonight. More Zelda probably coming up. Catch y'all later. Go Hawks.